Started and yeah. Well, hello, creatives, community, kind folks out there. Don't wake up on my account because we will be talking about dreams. Yes, dreams, imagination. Um, Heck, since we talk all week long about tabletop RPGs, we're probably going to be talking about planes of awareness and all that kind of thing. So yeah, Ziv's like, yeah, the thing I should be doing is falling asleep. All right, so today's Discord Tuesday, it's kind of a grab bag. Maybe we'll be talking a little bit more mechanics. But yesterday, Monster Monday, and the rest of this week, we're talking about dreams and dreamscapes. Yesterday, we talked about some kinds of creatures and adversaries we would fight and interact with from a dreamlike realm or dreamlike state. Yeah, Dreamweaver, exactly. Now, we even talked about maybe a kind of economy that may develop through dreamlike dreamlike state where maybe they're stealing memories or um, uh, memories, skills, inserting or removing different types of psychoses and things, slowly possibly turning you into someone else, slowly removing your personality and inserting someone else's personality. Exactly. So today, I thought we would talk a little bit more game mechanics, not necessarily specific game itself, but in essence, a way of, like, if you're going to insert something like this where you have creatures and maybe even worlds that exist out of the periphery of the PC's vision, a place to go where they fall asleep or are forced to fall asleep or trying not to fall asleep. We talked about that too yesterday. What do you do? Yeah. Yeah, of course, Zev. Yeah, we brought up Ravnica in the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. There's an Spy Assassins Guild, Demir, have an economy centered around memories. And yes, they do. They actually are able to make them steal someone's memories and turn it into a physical object and buy, sell, trade, threaten, bribe on the black market with those. The better the memory, the higher the pay, and memories of a job well done show proof they did it. I love that idea. And if you were to, depending on how you would love to use dreams, whether it's the physical world and we bring things from the dream world into our physical world, or there's a blending of the two, much like Nightmare on Elm Street, where the PCs fall asleep and go into another world, or the PCs physically have traveled to another realm. They literally have stepped through a doorway into another world, and now they exist in a world that is shaped and manipulated and formed, much like Inception or The Cell or What Dreams May Come. Depends on how you want to do it. Now, yeah, Zev says, I killed him. Uh-huh, sure. Give me the memory strand and we'll see. And that can prove that kind of economy might have to figure out for your game system how to do that, whether it's another talking about economies, whether you're going away from the very typical like gold piece and moving into maybe a rating on certain types of memories. Take the memory out and put in a bird feeder. Ow. I don't want a psychic bird nibbling at my brain. That's pretty nasty. Although it might be something worse than a bird. Yeah, how would you tax dreams? Wow, the economic ramifications of dealing with and trading in memories and such. And of course, if someone were to go into your dreams and manipulate them so that you give away certain types of information, maybe there's some form of secret. Someone has a secret identity. There are battle plans being drawn, or you yourself, maybe the PCs know of a spy network that they're handling, and someone is trying to find the identities of the spies and such, that could prove um a pretty interesting setting, I think. And maybe come up with a rating for how important particular memories are or particular dreams are, and you could have a rating from like 1 through 6 or one to 4, or even make it very, very detailed, maybe 1 through 20 or something. And those dreams could prove to be, and depending on the circumstances as well, right? If an imminent attack is coming to on a particular noble house or something, and one of the PCs need to find the dream, and that dream might be extremely important because of a time schedule, because an imminent attack is happening, and no one knows when or where or which mercenary groups are involved in it. That's a possibility of having like the memories would have a time factor, because after the attack, does it really matter? Um, Although I guess, of course, maybe the value might not go to zero, because you might want to know who was involved in setting up this attack or something on this noble house, and who paid where did the money come from to pay for the mercenaries or something. Polora says you could use incense, drugs, or magic, which induce more vivid, more pleasant, or more specific dreams. It's a chargeable service. Of course. It's it would be pretty interesting to have like dream protection services, and having magic flow, while you would have wizards and clerics and psychics and things of that nature. Maybe a lot of that, their bolder abilities like fireballs and lightning bolts and shapeshifting and such, might be relegated only into the dream world, where your average citizen doesn't see any of these great and bold and magical abilities, but in the dream world they do exist. Much like uh, the bully in a tavern, everyone hates the bully in a tavern, but if you go into the dream world, the bully in a tavern is a hill giant or something with a big old club, and defeating them wouldn't necessarily kill them, although we have heard of the if you die in your dreams, you'll die in real life. But it could be a matter of having combat in the dreamscape, and then in reality, when they try to intimidate people more and more, they're just like they're like not into it. They're easily cowed or something. So that would be kind of a strange and interesting way of looking at combining dreams and the physical world as well. Much like I think White Wolf has Changeling the Dreaming, where in reality it was a balance between reality and the Fey world, and people in reality would think that you're getting a little crazy, maybe even becoming homeless, and you start losing touch with reality and your friends in this world, and then going into the dream world, you're someone else, and making that decision and such, to pick which one. Yeah. Zevran says, imagine a home security system, but in dreamland. The moment a wizard hops in someone's dream, a warning spell pops off and alerts the magic authorities. I like that idea. I liked it a lot. Now, the other thing too is, if a game only has or is highly regulated in terms of physical activity, physical gunfights, physical martial arts, or just using swords and sorcery and such, you might need to, or might want to have like a session zero, where maybe specific conditions or losses of mental attributes, or a separate hit point track, but a dream track might be necessary to implement this combination of physical world and dream world. And while you could very simply just say, well, hit points are just hit points, it doesn't matter whether you're suffering, you know, a physical attack from a sword, or something happens to you in a dreamland, your hit points are your hit points. But some might say that the more cerebral character classes, say in Dungeons and Dragons, like a wizard or a cleric or sorcerer or something, would would tend to be more adaptable for a dreamscape versus a like a fighter or martial type. Yeah, yes, dreams become dungeons. Um, um, Zigmus or Xismus. Zigmus says maybe different realms, including the material universe, is a dream too. Mage can get pretty funky with that. Everyone's a secret lucid dreamer. Ooh, well, yeah. Um, the role playing game Invisible Sun actually contends that our world is the dream world. It's the gray. It is the oblivion. It is the dream place that we go to and we've been lost in, and the actuality is a place that is our true home, but it is a dreamlike landscape. So sure, I could imagine that. I could see that the material universe is in and of itself is a dream, and that um, those who are very skilled in shaping reality in small ways eventually learn how to completely manipulate it. I.e. the wish spell. You can see that. Um, yeah, and I love that idea, Zev. Dreams become dungeons. Zevran also says a thing you might want to add is Bloodborne's Dreamlands. Dreams are stacked on top of each other. One dream is below the main city. There is a dream below that dream. Inception does the movie Inception does a really good job in going in a dream within a dream. If you want to see something physically like that, um, that's pretty good. That's a really good and like uh, physical way of showing a dream within a dream. And of course, in a dreamlike world, you don't need to. It's more about context than anything. For example, there could be a tavern like this, a tavern where everyone and everything in the dream worlds go to it, and it's not a matter of physically getting there. It's about context. Like, how fast do I get there? I don't know. How bad do you want to get there? It's literally around the corner if you want it to be. Plura says you could use the dream as the matrix, using it to learn skills and so on. And uh, if you really want to do something modern, I know we usually reserve this for Future Friday, but if you really want to do something modern, maybe the role-playing games that we play are the dream worlds, and the reality of our PCs, they're just average individuals. So the skills they learn, whether they become a master swordsman and a samurai, or uh, they become a gunman or a wizard or a shapeshifter or something, might only be relegated to the dream world. And every once in a while they've got to get out of the dream world and walk around in the physical world to make contacts or do something. That I think that'd be a really cool, kind of interesting setting. Um, Much like the Dream Warriors from the old Nightmare on Elm Street kind of thing, right? Zev says a dream you walk around in Bloodborne is a barren gray wasteland on a pillar. When you look out, you see nothing but clouds and crashed ships. When you go a dream below, you are at a fishing hamlet and the ships are close by. Yeah, time and space are those things that really don't matter in dreams. They are because they are. You could be in your family home at one point, open up the door and be in a desert, and then maybe there's just a single door sitting on the horizon of the desert. You walk through that door, and now you're you know in a, on a dock at a storm-tossed sea, and then go through. You turn the corner, and there's something else there, and you know it can be very, very chaotic. So adding some form of adding some form of like reasonable something to hold on to, some kind of context to the environment is probably pretty necessary. Space is warped and time is bendable. Time sometimes doesn't feel like it exists in dreams. Um, uh, I agree with you, Zygmus. And Now, of course, you can't describe your entire environment by going like, "Oh, it's a dream world and nothing is real and it always keeps flowing and shifting," because to have something you're going to have some kind of touchstone. You're going to have something that anchors the action and the encounter, and that could either be based on, let's say, the PCs are in an NPC's dream world, so everything is anchored upon that person's memories, or one or more of the PCs have their own memories, or maybe you've established in your world, in your dreamscape like world, a number of um, quite different and quite exotic, but specified locations, and shift in a semi-predictable manner depending on where they go. Now, of course, we're going to reserve this. I'm going to segue away from this because we usually reserve this for Third Pillar Thursdays, because Thursdays are all about the exploration pillar, but of gaming. But yes, definitely we'll need to do that. But as far as handling the gains and losses in a dreamscape, maybe, you know, um, maybe use some like condition tracks, such as like forgetfulness or confusion, maybe catatonia and lucidness and exhaustion might fit into there, as well as maybe losses of like intelligence, wisdom, charisma, either temporarily or permanently, and needing to get those statistics back up through, well, resting might be kind of an odd thing to do, but yeah, through rest and relaxation and such, especially if you've just come out of a nightmare. Falling back asleep doesn't seem like the most optimal thing to do, but it may be possible. Maybe going to like an oracle or a sage or something like that, where you have to be around incense and put yourself into a meditative state to for recovery, so you don't get drawn back into the nightmares that are ever present. It'd be kind of weird. Um, Zevron says, an interesting thing, most but not all people can't read in dreams. So it might be interesting for a person to try sleeping to remember something, unable to properly remember it because it was written down. My lack of sleep gives me a penalty to my charisma and intelligence. I do like the idea of different types of dreams. I didn't really want to read this out, but I've been talking about this. I've started to write some notes down for a possible cinematic environment book about dreams, and I came up with 30 different types of dreams. So maybe I might pull that record out. I don't know. Maybe even today. I don't know. Pelora says Dragon Age has some pretty cool stuff with dreams. Dwarves don't dream because they're cut off from magic. You could be possessed while dreaming and tempted by demons, explore memories of a place, etc. Yeah. I just roll really high. Your loss of charisma, intelligence. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I will draw this up. I'll pull this up. The idea behind like different types of dreams could be a way for the PCs to, and for you to have the PCs interact in their dreams in different manners. So instead of having different countries, let's say you could have different types of dream worlds, or different types of dreams in general. I'm going to go over these very, very quickly, because if I went over each one for 2 minutes and there's 30 of them, that would be an hour. All right. So types of dreams. Let's see. We have ourselves. Oops. Sorry, I'm trying to keep my chat windows open and keep my Google Doc available as well. Zigma says, in World of Darkness, there's a whole zone in the Umbra, or the spirit world, called the Dreaming. It's the collective unconscious of humanity that you can literally explore. I think that's really cool, especially if you need to find a particular dreaming individual and then keep that individual asleep, go into their dreams, and their dreams, while of course in the physical world they're just an average individual, maybe they're very important, but in their dreams they're being besieged by nightmares, much like in the movie dreamscape, the president of the United States was afraid of launching nuclear weapons. He was afraid of the nuclear holocaust, and an enemy wanted him, was in his dreams trying to manipulate him to push the button, basically, push the button on the football. And the heroes of the story were trying to prevent this. And but inside of someone's nightmares, you don't know what horrors there might be. There could be dragons and hellscapes. They could be falling forever, or their flesh could be flayed. There could be a whole, like Zevran said earlier, like a dream could be a whole dungeon in and of itself. A dungeon that keeps repopulating or shifting and turning every time the PCs turn yet another corner. So for dreams, 5 types of recovery dreams are like cathartic, compensatory, healing, sexual, and wish fulfillment. And I even wrote some notes down for a bunch of these, such as like a cathartic dream would be situations that could never come to pass if not for the dreamscape. An example would be speaking to someone who has passed or success in a past failure. So a cathartic dream might be able to, it's like, I wish I could do this thing, and you do that. Compensatory dreams are our weaknesses wash away. This dream shines light on a trait presumed to be lacking, be it bravery, beauty, brains, or boldness. So, of course, you can be someone who you are not normally in a dream. A healing dream, often nothing more than pleasant colors, sounds, and scents. The healing dream is a technicolor embrace. It is the fastest to fade from memory, but has a lasting effect both on the mind and the body. Of course, there's sexual dreams. This is an intimate encounter of any type and with anyone. The imagination is a powerful tool, and dreams have no limits to the desires of the flesh. Once awake, it has its own issues. And then there's, of course, wish fulfillment. Flying, diving into deep seas, switching bodies, transforming into a predatory wolf. Any dream is available, bringing a joy felt in the physical, even if it is forgotten when the eyes open. So that's just a little taste. There's like extraordinary dreams, such as like clairvoyance, cosmic dreams, precognitive dreams, etherealness, and retro-historical dreams. There's tainted dreams, such as censored dreams, where memories are locked away, contrary dreams, such as becoming someone opposite or a pacifist turning into a murderer in a dream. There's public fears, such as like public speaking and fears of a child having a fear of being shot in school, or someone who has an illness and is afraid of dying, and things like that. There's emotional dreams, which is just pure emotion, unfiltered and unchecked. There's private terrors, such as phobia and phobia-inducing montages. There's investigative dreams, which I think, which I wanted to get to. The last 2 types of dreams, the investigative dreams and the manipulated dreams, because I think those represent the best aspects of gaming. Zevran says, if you have control in your dreams, you have ultimate power for a few hours. And maybe this is like, if you're using like a skill contest kind of thing, it could be wresting power away from one or more individuals in the dreamscape. For example, if the PCs go into the mind of a dictator, an evil dictator that has political dissidents squirreled away inside of cells that are hidden, and you're trying to save the CIA agents that are trapped, then it might, the control of the dream may not be ultimate if someone else is trying to establish has the dominant control or establishes the context of the dream. And so, for example, being trapped in a maze, an infinite maze inside of someone's mind, it may not be just finding your way through the maze, but controlling how the walls work and shift and move and stuff. It might be kind of cool to have like one or more types of skills that allow you to manipulate the dreamscape. And again, that might be where player characters' abilities come from, right? The physical world might be pretty mundane. Like, you don't even need stats. It's just a bunch of regular people walking around. But in the dream world, I'm a powerful paladin, Pillar-ist says dream therapy seems like an interesting concept, possibly even going into a like the Cell sort of idea, like the movie The Cell. Yeah, can even throw in mechanics to stop yourself from believing the dream is real, and in and of itself, it's possible. This can get a little more complicated, but much like The Cell and Inception, maybe the PCs are bringing their own hazards with them. So instead of someone saying, you know what, I love gambling. It's like a bit of an addiction. Maybe that becomes a physical thing. Not a fit. It becomes a thing fully realized in the dream world. So someone afraid of fire maybe summons some kind of fiery beast or flaming skeleton or something that hunts them down or whatever. In Inception, in Inception, um, the main character was being haunted by the guilt of his dead wife and trains and all kinds of like weirdness that came in there. So that's a possibility as well, where you maybe each of the PCs has to come up with, or you establish like, here's like a list of 15 horrors that you carry around with you, and you have to assign them a number between 1 and 5 or something, and each PC brings that with them. And on failed rolls, or even the game master might say, listen, thank you for your list. I'm going to insert these into the dream world. They might become your enemies or become someone else's enemies or something like that. Plur says, let me list off a few. List all all that he has. Yeah. Well, I do that. I didn't list them all. So now that you challenge me, the last 10 for investigative dreams are assessment, reoccurring, inspirational, visual, and preparatory. Assessment would be like an inventory of a day or an event, much like this thing happened. Let me assess that interaction yet again. A reoccurring dream is having the same dream over and over again, like a loop, and not trying to figure out why it's looping, much like a Groundhog Day. Having the same dream over and over again, and like, why am I having this dream? There must be a clue in there. Inspirational dreams are like leaps of creative energy. Visual dreams, seeing a blueprint, series of numbers, or strangers' faces. Much like dreaming about the inner workings of maybe a building or something like that. Preparatory dreams, a dream of an event to prepare for the real thing, like much like the Matrix, having a martial arts fight in the Matrix to prepare yourself for the real thing in the real world, maybe, or just in yet another landscape. Manipulative dreams are stimulated, mutual, sentient, deja vu, and narrative. Stimulated dreams are from an outside influence, either on purpose, like someone else is inserting something into your dream, or it's accidental. Maybe there's a holy site or a place where a lot of people have died that causes certain types of dreams. There's mutual dreams with 2 or more minds linked. Of course, you're going to have to do that with PCs. Sentient dreams, meaning a very powerful dreamer, such as a monk or an evil cult or something, has basically carved out themselves a piece of dream landscape, and you're drawn into it. There's deja vu, is either dreaming of an event before it happens or dreaming of the same event afterwards, and reliving that event. So it's almost precognitive in a way. If you have a deja vu dream, or maybe the event has already happened and you have the dream yet again, and it's like, oh, I recognize that person's face. I didn't realize they were in the corner of my eye, but they were actually across the street or something. And then there's, of course, narrative dreams. Someone or something is showing a series of images and locations to send a message or to spark an emotional reaction. So yeah, sorry, Zev, you made me do it. But that being said, Rickard, what's going on there? Zev says, imagine a slot machine monster walking around in a dream, shooting coins as an attack or trying to melee with the pull lever. Yeah, drawing you in, give me your money. I can't help it, I've got to pull you. Ching. Yeah, Rickard, nat 20. I have a lucid dream. Nah, you're fine. But of course, in the dream world, there's nothing stopping us from combining things together. You know, you can have a cat bus in your dreams. You know, you could have a giant slot machine walking around. You could be at one moment think of yourself as a giant with your chest in the clouds and you're looking down at society, and then in the next moment you're only 6 inches tall running through, tall grass as the house cat tries to attack you on a front lawn or something. I mean, there's nothing saying from moment to moment or scene to scene that things can't change, and I think that's the best part of dreams, because you can get really wild. I mean, someone who has a fear of spiders, a 1 inch spider in the palm of their hand may think of that spider as being 30 feet tall with, massive limbs and, dripping fluid out of its, nasty mandibles, and, an entire landscape filled with webbing that you're trying to navigate through and afraid of falling and into a bottomless pit or something of that nature, you know, very much so. Uh, as everyone says, I notice you can tell if someone is from the north, uh, or south, of how they pronounce lever. As everyone says, south tends to say lever, and northern say lever. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Zev, strangely enough, when we were in Discord yesterday, we talked about accents, dude. Yeah, that's its own subject, man. I don't know if we could talk about that for a week, but he sees an option to wake the dreamers, change their dreams, kill the dreamers or monsters. A lot normally get in a combat encounter. I absolutely agree with you, and I speak about this quite often, but I love the way you put it in terms of different win conditions. We absolutely positively should insert in our games different win conditions, not just I kill it or it kills me, especially considering the scenario you created. If the big bad has put people to sleep and they are innocents, they could be continuing to keep respawning their nightmares. So again, killing the giant spider and the person who's been put to sleep or in a coma is still spawning more giant spiders. Killing the spiders may not solve the situation. It would save maybe the public in our physical world, but someone is going to have to like awaken this individual or fall asleep themselves to go into the mind of this individual, or like you said, kill them, kill the dreamers, and all of those, depending on your players, they the decision won't to on what to do won't be easy, but all the decision could be placed in their hands. And I love that. I love that idea, especially if they don't know that right away. They just see these nightmarish creations devastating a small town or a city or a village or something, and the PCs are fighting them off. And they're like, we have to do something about this. And they start getting more information and more information. And it could be a matter of, the more martial characters have to defend the sleeping PC, who then has to go into the minds of the comatose victims who are being used by the big bad, and so on and so forth. I love that. Yeah. Ricker says, I think alternating between them depends on context. I pull the lever to the left. I pull the lever. Yeah. Oh, you guys. Oh, I can't wait for my squirrel to get here. But you're absolutely right. And the great thing about dreams, especially pulling off of what you're talking about in terms of having solving things in different manners, is you because dreams are we collectively understand that dreams are manipulatable, that solving them may not be fighting them. It could be embracing a dream or coming to grips with something psychological, a guilt, a fear, a failure in life, a relationship that went awry, or wish fulfillment, meaning like, you wished as a child you were able to do something, but as an adult you can now confront that thing. And confronting those you can turn normally ephemeral psychological events into physical threats as well. So, as a small child, you wish you stood up to the bully. Now, game wise, you can actually pull your sword and fight that bully. So that that may be real thing. Sorry, I thought I heard something. Zev says, I can imagine wizards who use dreams to try and navigate memories, helping people find things or people that have gone missing using an important item tied to that thing or person. Ooh, I like that. Like a um, investigative detective kind of thing. I'm feeling that too. Zev says if your daughter was kidnapped by goblins, you go to the dream wizard with your daughter's favorite toy, and she sleeps. During the ritual, she focuses on the toy, and it guides the dreamer to her. Um, there's a pretty ridiculous television show called Happy, but it's really good, and it is about a dark, depressing noir detective who is visited by the imaginary friend of a young girl that's been kidnapped. She's been abducted. And he wakes up and he's just like, what the hell? Like, what is this thing? And of course, I think Happy's a horse or a unicorn? Pegasus. Whatever. Anyways, a cartoon equine. and no more than, I don't know, 6 inches tall or something, with a very happy attitude. And he's a drug-addled, you know, uh, stripper-loving dark detective. And that may be a thing where the PCs are trying to uncover something by using clues by other dreamers. And you could even manipulate the dreams even more by having people who are asleep and awake. So when they're asleep, it's almost like a signal, like a way to triangulate them. And then when they awaken, it's like, oh shoot, it's harder to find them. And so it could be this weird cat and mouse kind of a slow chase where the PCs are finding clues to find people who have been kidnapped or captured or under threat or imprisoned, and they're trying to find them. And little by little, they're getting closer to triangulating closer. But every time the person awakens, it's like their signal is lost, and the PCs have to defend themselves against maybe enemies that know that the PCs are on the hunt or narrowing down the location of this individual. Deadman says the Happy is a winged unicorn. See, I was right. Rickard says, with it distinctly different from a Pegasus with a horn. Yeah. Is it a Pegasus with a horn or a unicorn with wings, right? The answer is yes. Yeah, yeah, an alicorn then. Yes, of course. Just saying. Thank you, Palora. So yes, the idea of having a mix of the physical and the ephemeral, I think, is also a great thing to play with too, especially when maybe people in the physical world, of course, do not see what the PCs are seeing in the dream world, and then the dream world beings don't interact or maybe interact on a limited basis with the physical world. So, for example, the stealing from Changeling the Dreaming, the office worker who starts talking to things in midair and tends to stay home and wants to stay asleep and is walking the streets talking to themselves, everyone is looking at them like there's something wrong with you. Whereas the office worker is now becoming a powerful knight in this dream world, and it's like, I'm leaving my physical world behind. And that balance of having those two, I like that idea, which of course in the White Wolf game, Changeling the Dreaming, and other forms of it, you have to have that balance. Well, you don't have to have the balance, but there is a balance where the better you become in one realm, the less you become in the other realm, and vice versa, right? If you're like, you know what, I'm grown, I remember having an imaginary friend, but I really don't have time for that anymore. That was when I was a kid. That means you fully embrace the physical world, whereas maybe someone in a mental institution isn't really quote unquote insane. They are literally living in the dream world and trying to stay there. Like, oh, I need my injection. Put me back to sleep. you know, as Ever says, I remember in Devil May Cry, an awful, awful game, by the way. The main character gets pulled into limbo, a dream realm, for all of his combats. Dreams occasionally have an impact in the real world, and we see that plenty of times. It's been done. It's, hell, nearly every dream, any world in which, or intellectual property or book or something, where someone goes into a dream realm or dream state that they have, there's a physical thing, right? Where I fight a beast in the dream world and they wake up and they have a scar on their arm, or I'm drowning in my dream and they wake up and they spit out water, even though they're dry and on their bed, right? So I definitely see parallels between the two, and you would have to decide in your own setting, if you die in your dreams, or you suffer lethal harm in your dream, does that translate into the physical world, or do you just pop out of the dream unable to go back, but or maybe even just suffer some kind of psychological harm, maybe like a short-term or long-term madness, or exhaustion, confusion, memory loss, disadvantage, some kind of penalty on certain kinds of perceptions or mental acuity or charisma or something of that nature. I could see that as well, especially if you have to go into a dream world, have some kind of combat, come back into the physical world, convince someone or something of something to get a particular, like, for example, convincing a parent to get their toy from their child from their bedroom, and then going back into the dream world to try to find this person, even though people in the physical world are like, I don't want this homeless person in my daughter's bedroom. You know what I mean? Which would be kind of interesting. Zev says a demon attacks him by throwing a carnival wheel at him, and it rolls in real life, destroying a pier. A creature in the dream realm can only be seen if you are a skilled magic user or have demon energy in you. Otherwise, you are a dark wisp of smoke. If you attack a real person in limbo, they go brain dead. I could very much see that a lot, especially if, for example, someone is in a hospital and they are suffering from, they are on the cusp of transitioning from this world over to the next, and the PCs either have to stop it or talk to this person before they transfer over, and they're in maybe a limbo type world. Maybe coma victims are the same way, or like pillar-ist says, maybe they've been drugged, or they've suffered, someone's been gunned down, and they're holding on to this tenuous thread, and the PCs can follow that thread to this individual before they cross over, going into the light or falling into the darkness. If you really want to be, you want to be that nail and headish about it, where heaven is up above and hell's down below and that kind of thing. Pelura, dream hookers, all the fun, none of the risk. I don't know. You wouldn't want to carry around a mental STD, I think. I hate going to sleep. I always pop the pus bubbles in my brain. Zev says, still none of the rocks actually gotten off. Only in the brain, right? Ricker says, I think that's how devourers show up. Which, in many ways, the idea of the Cthulhu style creatures, aboleths and mind flayers and Cthulhu itself, as well as some of these other mental intrusion styled creatures, Githyanki, Githziri, intellect devourers, so on and so forth, on and on and on. Maybe in your setting, they they have no physical presence. They only exist in the dream world. And as more and more people have these nightmares, they're given more energy for them to become, air quotes, real, or at least a thing that is ever present every time someone goes to sleep, which would be pretty brutal, I think, if everyone in the world went to sleep, and once they went to sleep, all they saw were like mind lesions of mind flayers in the whatever the brain is that they're linked to, or like Cthulhu in the background or something, driving them insane and whatnot. Yeah. How would you stat a mental STD? A mental sexually transmitted disease? Hmm. I think you could go pretty. Maybe what's the thing? What's the creature? The gibbering mouther, the ooze with nothing but eyes and mouths on it. I I think that's about that's about as nasty as you can get. Oh man, yeah. Zev says you got the brain itch. I see you degenerate. Yeah. Plur says if we assume that most people can't lucid dream, it may be interesting for lucid dreamers to record their dreams and give the other people the experience. Strange days, but dreams. Yeah. I you could have classes of people who are very good at it, who just happen to be able to um, snap their fingers and take a nap, for example, or lucid dream in a sense of going into a dream state, but still having some kind of communication with the real world at the same time, or much like a high tech virtual overlay or augmented reality. Maybe maybe the PCs are the special ones that both see the physical world and the dream world over top of each other, which would be kind of strange. Yeah, yeah. Ricker says, take a look at the sex scene in Demolition Man. I think that's how you stat it out. Yeah, it's the headset wearing um virtual reality version of it, which I think some people would, once we get to Future Friday, we're definitely going to talk about that, meaning technology that allows you to lucid dream or go into a deep REM state or something. Yeah, I think I agree with you, Plura. Uh, Zev says a nice thing to experiment is the inability to dream. Dreams and sleep are important to individuals. Yeah, certainly less mess. That would be based on whose dream you're going into, because it could be pretty messy once you're in there. But true, the people who don't dream, um, maybe there are different classes of people, and when I say classes, I'm talking about gaming classes, not not the social status classes, meaning there may be people who can't dream at all. Maybe there are people who very easily dream. There are people who can go into deeper dream states and go into deeper dream levels, maybe, or bring with them certain statistics with them, much like the Terminator going through time. There may be some who dream and they arrive naked, where others dream and they take all they're fully armored. They're able to snatch things out of the dream world and form them around them. So you could have different. I'm thinking you could have very different capabilities amongst a range, meaning going from not being able to sleep to being in a comatose state, and then things that range in the middle, especially if you have a stat, much like White Wolf does this, where you have a stat that you have a balance stat where if when the stat goes up in one direction, it goes down in the other direction. So I definitely think you could play with that, especially if you're doing, I could easily see this with a very rules light system. Um, Lasers and Feelings comes to mind at this moment, but maybe not as light as that. But you could do a rules light system where you have this stat from 1 to 10, and so if your stat is 7 on one scale, it's 3 on the other scale, and maybe that moves back through experience, skill, interactions, failures, that kind of thing. Um, Zev says in Witcher there is a demonic being known as Hyam, not Hyam. Hum. Say it together. Him. I, why you guys ask me to pronounce stuff I don't know? You know I'm gonna butcher it. Anyway, the HYM that preys on people's past sins. They latch onto people that did awful things and gives them nightmares. Feeding on their life force, they slowly lose sleep, sanity, and take their own life, becoming a gourmet meal for the Heim? Heim? Come on, seriously, guys. Seriously. Yeah. Thank you, Dead Man. Popping that into the Fantasy Grounds college Discord. Yeah. Okay, really? Okay, stop. I'm gonna stick with Heem, and that's it. I'm not going any further. Well, maybe. So anyway, guys, we are heading down the path of the hour mark. I, of course I'm wrong. I never listen, you're coming to the guy who butchers every pronunciation. So yeah, no. If you can't be wrong, I don't want to be right. Guys, thank you very much. I did get it right. Oh, wow. Let me write that down here. Got it. Let's see. Okay, so tomorrow is World Building Wednesday. We are going to build a dream world. We're going to construct one. We're going to make a setting in which a dreamscape, if it isn't the only thing, it is a major part of society. Pelora, I'm going to need your help because we're probably going to pull a hell of a lot of this from Invisible Sun. Him with guys, I'm with a long eye. Him with a long eye, which is Heim. You missed the important part where I said you chose the wrong one in the end. Wait, what? Wait, what? Okay, I can't. I can't. Don't even. I get it, guys. I get it. But I've actually never played Witcher. Sorry. And I've never read the books. Sorry. It's not that I don't dislike it. It's that there's too much stuff out there for me to get it. So, oh man. Okay. I get it. Heim. Thank you. Rickard says, continuing right riffing on the lucid dreamer, dreaming dreams for others. You could even have like plays and stories that get re-recorded, as each dreamer would be an individual artist. I like that. Yeah, wait, you got to save this for tomorrow. Yeah, a bit like Better Than Life, but you're asleep for it rather than having it as a sim disc. I'm feeling you. I'm absolutely feeling you on that. And those dream artists shape things. So yeah. I'm gonna hold on to this. So guys, listen. Thank you so much for being part of this. All the information, if this is your first time here, thank you for joining me. All the information I think you'll ever need is below the video, such as our Discord chat that we do this simultaneously. It's simulcast at Fantasy Grounds College. Discord down in the boiler room on the lift slide down at the bottom. That's where we, the cool kids, hang out. These live chats are, the audio is a podcast. The older episodes are being uploaded a little bit at a time on the SoundCloud. That link is down below. You can contact me on Facebook. There's so many other things. So yeah. Yeah, and I agree with you, Zeb. If this is your first time here, we're very sorry. We tend to get ourselves distracted quite a bit. We're just here sharing a slice of digital pizza with each other just before we game. So that's kind of the theme here. So everyone, thank you very much. I see you, Pelor. Yeah, we did fine until the Heim.